unfold. The most astounding national parks in all of Africa and Europe. Giant's Causeway, Bwindi, Gran Paradiso, and the endless Serengeti. These are lands where marvels never cease. From the mysterious rock formations of Giant's Causeway to the gentle gorillas of Bwindi. From the storied peaks of Gran Paradiso to the magnificent wildlife of Serengeti National Park. Here are lands of wonder. In the East African nation of Uganda, the world's most extraordinary primate dwells in a wondrous sanctuary called Bwindi Impenetrable National Park. Roughly 650 mountain gorillas survive today, and half of them live here. Located in southwestern Uganda, Bwindi Impenetrable National Park covers an area of 127 square miles. The journey to this African marvel starts at Lake Victoria. King of the lake is the hippopotamus. These 6-ton giants feed on Victoria's aquatic plants. Fish eagles scan the shallows from key vantage points. Brilliant crowned cranes feed at the lake's margins. And roaming the papyrus swamps are shoe-billed storks that stand 4 feet tall. Leaving Lake Victoria behind, it's time to head west for the park. Banana fields line the road from the nation's capital of Kampala to Bwindi, Uganda's first national park. At 3,000 feet, the landscape changes. Now tea plantations dot the park's boundaries. At day's end, we enter the misty gateway to the park at Bahoma. A sound sleep is in order, for tomorrow will come the search for the mountain gorilla. At first light, we are joined by a park ranger. He will guide us on our quest. We begin at the Katangari River Trail, an enchanted world of soft green hues. More than 100 species of rare ferns thrive here. Vines as thick as giant constrictors climb towards the sky, as crystalline waters cascade down Bwindi's slopes. The park is believed to hold the richest plant community in East Africa due to its range of habitats at ascending elevations. Plant life is nourished by up to 95 inches of rain a year. Bwindi is not only famous for its gorillas, it's also a birdwatcher's paradise. The bronze sunbird is one of 336 species protected by the park. The collection includes the dazzling blue flycatcher, as our quest for mountain gorilla takes us ever higher into the park, it becomes obvious why Bwindi is called impenetrable. Dense bamboo and natural shrubs inhabit the valley bottoms. Climbing up to 4,000 feet above Bahoma, the high forest begins to chatter. A troop of black and white colobus monkeys holds center stage. Like their distant cousins, the gorilla, they feed only during the daytime. When they're not eating, they simply sit still to digest their food, like melancholy little men. Aside from tree-bound monkeys, the forest floor is alive with 120 species of mammal. Duikers, a species of small antelope, move easily through the underbrush. Their travels may bring them face to face with a snuffling bush pig as it searches for roots and bulbs on the forest floor. Forest elephants have straighter tusks and ears more oval than their lowland cousins. Since they tend to feed in the same areas as Bwindi's gorillas, their appearance is a good sign. Then, roughly in the center of Bwindi's southwest quadrant, exciting evidence that gorillas are nearby. It's wild celery, pulled in half and chewed clean. A gorilla's roar shatters the air. It's coming from between the first and second ridge lines of the Kigezi Highlands on the park's southwest border. If approached carelessly, mountain gorillas can inflict lethal wounds. We place our complete trust in the hands of our ranger guide. Recruited from local villages, their dedication and peerless skill allows a miraculous encounter to unfold. Suddenly, a massive form of black and silver. It's the dominant male of the group. Because his back hair has turned white, he's called a silverback. He is very protective of his family, who are resting close by. While gentle with his group, this 35-year-old, 450-pound male will fight to the death to protect them. One swat of his immense 12-inch wide hand could easily kill a rival male. The mountain gorillas of Bwindi National Park have their schedule neatly sorted out. 30% of the day is spent feeding, 30% traveling, and 40% resting. Youngsters' priorities tend to drift towards 100% fooling around whenever possible. This mother and newborn are living proof of Bwindi's promise. While lowland gorillas can survive in zoos, mountain gorillas only exist in sanctuaries like Bwindi. Today, the world can share the joy of coming face to face with these living legacies of wonder. Here, in the heart of Africa, in Bwindi Impenetrable National Park. Gran Paradiso National Park lies nestled amidst the European Alps. It's a place where lush valleys and rainbow skies transform the spirit. And alpine flowers emerge from glistening snow. The Alps are the beating heart of Europe. But Gran Paradiso is where we can find its soul. Here is a movable feast of contrast and color worthy of a king. Over each rise, vistas of rugged mountains and deep valleys define one of the greatest natural sanctuaries in the world. Gran Paradiso's boundaries embrace 173,000 acres of snow-capped summits. The park is located in the southwestern corner of the Alps, along the Italian-French border. Its mighty namesake, Gran Paradiso Mountain, towers over 13,000 feet high. Safeguarding this haven of flowers and ice are 68 dedicated rangers. They know the alpine grandeur of Paradiso has another side. Each spring, the roar of great avalanches announces the magic arrival of the annual thaw. In the central eastern section of the park, melting snows feed a wondrous cascade called the Disappearing Waterfall. Due to its narrow spillway and long descent, the falling waters seem to vanish before they land. In the central valley of Cogne, the heart of the park, larch trees blaze with crimson buds. Some 250 alpine plant species put on their finest. Meadow saffron and hardy geums join a host of vivid blooms to create the colors of springtime's verdant palette. In one glorious season, this world of snowy summits and chiseled mountain faces sheds its wintry veil. Gran Paradiso's valleys burst with life and singing waters that lift the soul. In the 19th century, a series of stately trails were built throughout the park. Today, they are among the finest in all the Alps. Fragrantly scented pine trees line the pathways as they ascend to a secluded mountain getaway. Nestled beneath a mountain slope at a location called Orvielli is a simple hunting lodge. Its plain lines belie its importance. This humble structure was once the summer home of a king. Gran Paradiso's greatest admirer was the first modern ruler of a united Italy, King Vittorio Emanuele II. So fond of Paradiso was the king, he often extended his stay. To maintain communications, a telegraph line was run up to the lodge. Here, for weeks on end, Vittorio would run the country through a wire from his beloved Gran Paradiso. From this eagle's nest, he shared the view with the wild denizens of Gran Paradiso. The red alpine fox eats almost any creature it can catch, from frogs to field mice. But it seldom gets close to this creature. The largest member of the squirrel family, the marmot uses a shrill whistle to warn its companions of a predator. If it's lucky, a fox might get the merest glimpse of the creature before it shoots into a subterranean burrow. The marmots share the rugged mountain slopes with agile climbers called chamois. These sure-footed creatures are found only in the high mountains of Europe and Western Asia. Male adults weigh in at about 80 pounds. A member of the antelope family, chamois can easily bound across a wide ravine. Equipped with wide hooves to avoid sinking in the snow, these hardy animals can go weeks without a meal. High above the park's southern gateway of Noasca, the foothills of Gran Paradiso National Park are haunted by a string of deserted villages. This is the village of Maison. It was founded in the 18th century by artisans and shepherds. It was once a thriving community, famous for its stonemasons. These craftsmen cut the granite of Gran Paradiso with such care in such precision that their shingled rooftops still remain intact. To walk through Maisons today is to journey back to a golden time when village children flocked inside a one-room school. The walls here seem to echo with the chatter of students and the sound of chalk on slate. But ultimately, as their populations grew, the natural resources of Gran Paradiso were unable to sustain them. Time was also running out for a creature dear to the hearts of all Italians. The very sight of an ibex stirs the Italian soul as surely as the bald eagle inspires Americans. Ibex are the sure-footed mountain goats of the Alps. Males carry horns as long as 3 feet, a fitting crown for an alpine monarch. In the first weeks of spring, male ibex clean the membranes from their horns in preparation for an annual ritual. Young males begin to practice jousting. As mature males, this contest will be fought in earnest. The victors will claim as many as a dozen females for their harems. Hunted relentlessly for meat and the supposed medicinal properties of their great horns, the ibex had nearly vanished by the mid-19th century. It was King Vittorio who would save the ibex. His love for this handsome creature led to Gran Paradiso being declared an official reserve in 1856. In 1922, this sanctuary was named Italy's first national park. Thanks to the vision of a king, some 5,000 ibex now thrive in this wonderland. And the majestic mountains of Gran Paradiso are truly an alpine paradise open to the world. Lashed by windswept seas, it is the most enchanted spot in all of Northern Ireland, the Giant's Causeway National Park. The park owes its unique name to a legend of a giant named Finn McCool. As the story goes, the basalt rock fortresses of ancient stone were created by Finn as a labor of love. According to legend, he built 3 pathways or causeways of geometrically structured rock, stone by stone. Looking directly down on them, one is struck by their shapes. Some hexagonal, others 4, 5, even 9-sided. The main causeway, called the Honeycomb, stretches hundreds of feet before it disappears under the sea. What are these fantastic stones? According to the Celtic yarn, Finn McCool built his causeway across the sea to bring his sweetheart from Scotland to Ireland. This three-story formation is called the Harp. Perhaps Finn wooed his wife-to-be with a tune from its stony strings. The pieces of this rocky mystery lie on the wondrous coast of Northern Ireland. Finn McCool's mighty fortress is nestled in County Antrim, a magic quilt of shamrock green, rock, and water. 5 miles east of the causeway, a series of wide glens grace the landscape. Spill into the Atlantic, Glen Arif, the queen of the glens, typifies the peerless beauty of Northern Ireland. Flowing through it are two breathtaking rivers, the Inver and the Glen Arif. The rivers wind through a series of serpentine rocky gorges. Here a forest of soft mosses and delicate ferns thrive. And as the waters tumble toward Giant's Causeway and the sea, they fall like notes from the giant's harp in grand Irish style. On their way to the Atlantic, the rivers pass through Glenarm, the oldest village of the Glens. In the churchyards here are the final resting places of seafaring men. Those fishermen weighed anchor from enchanted harbors like Ballantoy, unchanged since the 19th century. Signs of the ocean's bounty grace the shoreline just east of the causeway at Port Ballantree. Intrepid cormorants dry their wings after long dives for fish. The eider is Ireland's largest diving duck. The down from the brown female was prized as quilt stuffing by Irish artisans. Behind the surf lie tidal pools bursting with brilliant seaweeds. Here, too, are barnacles and limpets of every shape. They share the salty hollows with a host of more lively creatures. In Finn McCool's realm, every creature finds its place in the order of things. But once, the causeway was a part of a world in chaos. "58 million years ago, the region was a battlefield dotted with volcanoes. From northeast Antrim to southwest Scotland, fissures in the Earth's crust spewed layer after layer of molten rock. Liquefied stone solidified into layers of basalt. From the youngest sheet of lava emerged the mysterious columns of the causeway. Like candles of stone, they sit atop a geological layer cake. Thousands upon thousands of them form the twisted cliff faces. The Celtic imagination took hold of these natural miracles and made them the property of Finn McCool.
Here is McCool's giant boot. In reality, it's a 2-ton dollop of lava. And there's a more down-to-earth explanation for the giant's honeycombed pathways as well. They were formed from virtual ponds of liquid rock. As the lava cooled, it cracked into geometric shapes. At a structure called Giant's Gate, the secret transformation of hexagonal surfaces into columns is revealed. As layers of lava cooled, vertical cracks opened downward at right angles to the cooling surface. Many of the fissures ran deep enough to form the columns seen today. Shifts in the earth and irregular cooling of the lava gave the columns of Giant's Gate their tilt, and the harp its curious curve. Looming above the harp are phenomenal formations. Shaped by the erosive action of wind, water, and ice, the chimney tops are basalt columns isolated from the nearby cliffs. Located in Port Riastan, at the center of the park, the chimney tops share the coastal airspace with squadrons of seabirds. The stiff wings of the fumar allow it to fly endlessly over the cliffs. The birds stay snug in their cliffside nests until the end of the breeding season, when they disappear into the Atlantic like notes from the giant's harp. The causeway's greatest flyers are peregrine falcons. The world's fastest animals, they dive after prey at speeds reaching 200 miles per hour. The causeway contains a remarkable range of habitats and a generous bouquet of wild flowers. Thyme and lady's bedstraw, harebells, sea pinks, sea aster, ferns, and bluebell thrive in this rocky garden. The causeway stones unite the worlds of nature, legend, and Irish history as well. A few miles west of the causeway is the stronghold called Dunluce, the largest castle of the Northern Irish coastline. Stones brought from the causeway actually form part of its distinctive walls. The name Dunluce literally means fort in Irish. The first part of the castle may have been built as early as the 10th century, but historical accounts of the castle do not begin until the 1500s. Until it fell under British rule in the late 16th century, Scottish clans ruled the region from behind these walls. Damaged in an English artillery attack in 1584, this complex of eerie walls and spires was deserted in the late 17th century. The struggle of Scottish clans and English armies echo through Dunluce. And the prehistoric history of the North Irish coast is preserved in the causeway's library of stone. Bound in chapters of rock are towers that touch the past and tales of a giant whose love knew no limits. As long as winds howl and waves crash, the Giant's Causeway will remain a timeless beacon to the Irish soul.
Deep within the endless plains of Africa lies Serengeti National Park. These astonishing savannas are home to the most impressive array of animals on Earth. And the most important player in this eternal drama is the wildebeest. Each year, these herbivores, in the hundreds of thousands, lead the world's most spectacular migration.
From the mysterious crater called Ngorongoro, they plunge into the vast Serengeti. Surging northward, they pass enigmatic rock formations where predators lay in ambush. Their odyssey ends with a death-defying swim across a wild river to the rich grasslands of southern Kenya. The Serengeti National Park covers an area of over 5,600 square miles. Its border to the north is Kenya's Masai Mara Reserve. To the south is the key to understanding the wonders of the Serengeti, Ngorongoro Crater. The grasslands of the Serengeti literally rise from its ashes. 2.5 million years ago, Ngorongoro, a volcanic mountain, collapsed into a crater 8 miles across. Its rim reaches some 6,000 feet above sea level. Mother Nature made the most of the rich volcanic soil within Ngorongoro. Today, it shelters an extraordinary array of plants and animals. The yellow fever tree sprouts thorns to protect itself in the first years of growth. In its shadow, a band of vervet monkeys feed on grass and insects. And great birds are everywhere. Saddle-bill storks grow over 5 feet tall, and a marabou hunts for frogs. The crater is a world of color, contrast, and coexistence. High-shouldered antelopes called hartebeests mingle with crowned cranes. On Ngorongoro's Lake Magadai, lesser flamingos feed on the blue-green algae. Without this planktonic diet, their famous pink plumage will fade. The flamingos share the lake with heavyweight hippos. Adult males can weigh over 7,000 pounds. There are no sweat glands in its skin, and the epidermis is very thin. Without a regular dunking, hippos will dehydrate at several times the rate of other Serengeti mammals. Hippos are a good deal more dangerous than they appear. The jaws of a bull are strong and wide enough to bite a 9-foot crocodile in two. The center of the crater is patrolled by another awesome mammal, the rare black rhino. This 11-foot-long bull weighs 3.5 tons. In spite of his heft, he can attack at 20 miles per hour. The crater's elephants are the only animals larger than the hippopotamus and the rhino. This male weighs over 11,000 pounds. Here, a female and her calf pass the big bull with due caution and respect. Great herds of zebras wander the crater. Family units consist of up to a dozen females and one stallion. But of all the animals of this park on the move, the wildebeest has the biggest part to play. Vast herds breed here in the crater. The wildebeest swallows more grass per mouthful than practically any similar grazer. Wildebeests quickly exhaust a pasture and have to migrate each year or perish. As the dry season begins in May, they will join huge herds of zebra to begin an incredible migration across the Serengeti. From Ngorongoro Crater, the herds move into the long grass plains that dominate the southern sector of the park. The migration may last as long as 3 months as the herd eats its way north to the greener pastures of Kenya. On the way, they pass Olduvai Gorge, a deep gash in the earth whose importance to mankind is truly profound. The gorge is named for the Olduvai plant, used today by Maasai villagers to make baskets and other goods. In 1959, below this very ridge, archaeologist Mary Leakey unearthed the remains of the earliest ancestor of man, Homo erectus. This discovery revolutionized our understanding of human development. Roughly 1 million years ago, small hunting parties explored the endless plains. The descendants of animals seen eons ago still haunt the Serengeti today. A secretary bird survives on snakes, dispatching them with a powerful stamp of its foot. The male Kori bustard weighs 25 pounds and is the heaviest bird in Africa able to fly. And last but not least is this ungainly creature. The ostrich is the world's largest bird. The powerful wings of the female come in handy during elaborate mating rituals. Eons ago, the ostrich flew over the Serengeti, But over the millennia, food was so easy to find, it lost the need to fly. During the dry season, as ostrich and the Thompson gazelle roam the plains, they are observed from strange outcrops of stone called kopis. Granite islands in a sea of grass, kopis were formed some 650 million years ago by molten granite forced to the surface from the core of the planet. Kopis are key to the survival of resident animals and plants throughout Serengeti National Park. Puff adders and other deadly snakes stay cool in the rock crevices, along with a brilliantly colored agama lizard. The trees of the kopis provide shade from the blistering sun. And baboons search for insects in their branches. Troops consist of between 30 and 100 individuals. They can range in an area as large as 3 square miles, but venturing beyond the kopis has its risks. Lions rule the park. Thousands of these predators are distributed throughout the Serengeti. During the dry season, breeding pairs of lions mate in the wooded areas north of the plains. A lioness knows when her cubs are born 4 months later, there will be plenty of water and food to go around. Plant-eating animals, the natural prey of carnivores, are everywhere. Cape buffalo measure 5 feet across at the shoulder and weigh up to 1,400 pounds. These powerful creatures carry massive buffed horns that can easily kill a careless attacker. Lions have even been known to take on giraffes. This group moves gracefully through the northern quarter of the park near a site called Lobo. Giraffe feed exclusively on the tender leaves of the acacia tree. Incredibly, their long necks contain only 7 vertebrae. But the most plentiful prey is already migrating towards the lions. From the air, they look like thick columns of safari ants. 1.3 million wildebeests and hundreds of thousands of zebra pass through the central hills of the Serengeti, headed for Kenya. 30 miles north of Lobo, the migration crosses the Grumeti River. The lions are ready. A large female closes in on a herd of zebra. Running in bursts of 30 miles an hour, she fulfills her maternal mission to feed her cubs. as the migration passes a site called Kokatendi, near the Kenyan border. It's the wildebeests that come under attack. In spite of these hardships, the herd rolls northward like a great and ceaseless wave of life. Soon, the wildebeests will stand before their final challenge. The Mara River lies between the dry grass of the northern Serengeti and the richer pastures of Kenya. Giant herds numbering in the tens of thousands all mass on the Mara's banks. On the other side of the river, an ocean of green grass. Ravenous crocodile lay in ambush everywhere. The wildebeests can't wait forever. And so, the dash begins. For weeks, over 1 million wildebeests and countless zebras cross into Kenya. Yet, in this greatest of all migrations, for every animal that falls, thousands will survive. This is the enduring law of a wondrous, untamed land. As the sun sets over this unconquered refuge, this wilderness of endless motion, the timeless sounds of the Serengeti echo across the plains.